Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to this vaulty video. So I'm sure you guys have seen an epic BOE drop and gotten pretty excited when you saw it. Or at least you would have seen someone in a dungeon group get something really rare or pricey drop. So in this video I'm going to be going over the 7 rarest items in Classic WoW. And the last item on this list is absolutely insane. Probably the rarest item in World of Warcraft history, so make sure you guys watch the full video. So with that being said, let's get on with it. So starting off at number 7 is Tibu's Blazing Longsword. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with this sword. This is quite a famous weapon in World of Warcraft. A lot of people really like the design of this weapon. It's kind of like a red lightsaber and pretty unique. And even in retail WoW, people want to get this item. However, in Classic WoW, it's actually really good. This is one of the slowest main-handed swords in the game. It's actually really good for getting good sinister strike damage. And of course, it has a very nice proc. So it looks good, it has good stats, so how do you get it? Well, this has a 0.02% drop chance from level 60 plus elite mobs. So basically any trash mobs in a raid dungeon will have a tiny chance of dropping this item. But considering the fact that in a raid there's going to be 40 people, the chances of you getting your hands on this item is pretty low. But that being said, you can buy this item. Except in the video I spoke about this item and it can go for over 10,000 gold. Yes, it is really that expensive. Rogues are willing to spend a lot of money to get their hands on this item. So if you manage to get this item, you've pretty much gotten enough gold to carry you through the rest of your life playing Classic WoW. It is that expensive. Okay, number 6 on this list is the Death Charger's Reins. So in my opinion, this is the rarest mount in Classic WoW. Some people may dispute that, but when you think about the numbers of trying to get this item, you will probably realize how insanely difficult this mount is to get. So the Death Charger's Reins has a 1% drop chance from the final boss in Stratform, Baron Rivendare. And yes, 1% drop chance is a very low chance of getting it, but this is not an item that is unique to any class. This is a mount item that everybody in your dungeon group will roll on, so you're going to be competing with 4 other people. So even if you get extremely lucky and have the 1 in 100 chance of having this, you then have to roll for it. Chances are you won't be the guy that gets it, which is kind of a shame because this is a very cool looking item, especially for people that are playing Alliance. This is the only way that you can get your hands on a skeletal warhorse mount. So if you have this item, congratulations, you have the rarest mount in Classic WoW, and it's just insanely lucky. Okay, number 5 on this list is the Pendulum of Doom. So this is another famous rare weapon in the game. So the Pendulum of Doom has a chance of dropping from Alderman trash mobs, except not all the trash mobs. It has a 0.02 to 0.06% drop chance from a handful of mobs in Alderman. So yeah, we're talking about an extremely rare item here, especially considering that nobody is actually farming Alderman. I don't believe there's any gold farms for Alderman except for trying to get the Pendulum of Doom to drop. And if you manage to get this, you can sell it for over 10,000 gold, similar to Tibu's Blazing Longsword. So why is this item so expensive? Well, the reason is that the Pendulum of Doom has some absolutely insane stats, in particular for people that are playing a 39 Twink as either a Shaman or a Warrior. The Pendulum of Doom has a 4.0 attack speed, which is just ridiculously slow. And as I mentioned before, a slow attack speed is generally better, as if you're twinking out a 39 Shaman, having this proc Wind Fury is basically a guaranteed kill. You can basically just delete people in that level bracket if you have Pendulum of Doom. In terms of relative power level, I don't think there's any stronger weapon than the Pendulum of Doom, at least in terms of the level. But as I mentioned, it's pretty much impossible to get this item to drop for you. You can try and run Alderman a bunch of times and you won't be getting much except a chance of having this item drop. Okay, number 4 on this list is Thunder Fury. So it's kind of cliche talking about legendary weapons being rare items, but in this case, Thunder Fury really does deserve its status as a rare item. You see, getting Sulphurous isn't that complicated, however getting Thunder Fury is a really big headache. So to craft Thunder Fury, you need 2 bindings, the left and the right bindings of the Windseeker. And these are 2% drop chance respectively from both Gar and Baron Geddon. And you need both of them, so if you're on a guild and you only see one side drop, you won't be getting this weapon. You need both of them, but you can guarantee that if you see one of the bindings drop, all the tanks in your guild will just go absolutely crazy. But that's not all. you still need to craft the Elementium bars, which in total will take 100 Arcanite bars. So you're easily looking at about 10,000 gold on top of getting the really low drop chance items. So there's two big hurdles that you need to overcome. First, you need to win your favor with the RNG gods, and then you have to have a ton of gold in your character. So Thunder Fury really does deserve some respect. It's a very hard item to get. And to be honest, it's well worth it. Thunder Fury is just an absolutely amazing tanking weapon and can even carry you into the Burning Crusade if we see that come out. So the power level of this item does match the rarity. It's definitely something you should be excited about getting. Okay, so number 3 on this list is Iron Foe. So this is an epic main-handed mace, and it has one of the coolest procs in World of Warcraft history. It has a chance of 2 extra swings upon attacking a target, and word on the street is, the proc chance is actually really high. You pretty much have a Wind Fury proc built into this weapon, which of course does stack with Wind Fury, and Iron Foe dominates the best in slot lists for quite a few melee characters. I believe it takes you all the way up to AQ 40. So not only is this item really fun, but it also gives you some really nice numbers. It's just a shame that the chance of getting this item is so low. This item has a mere 0.18% drop chance from Emperor Thaurissan, the final boss in BRD. That is just very unfortunate, and especially considering that there's going to be so many people running BRD that want this item. BRD is pretty much full of rogues and fury warriors. The chances of getting this item, even if it drops, is cut down quite considerably. But that being said, this really is a nice item. You will need to run Blackrock Depths hundreds of times before you even see one drop. And think about it, for such a good item, you never actually see people with this, so that just proves how scarce this item is. But either way, this is just an insane item and one of my favorite items in the game. So number 2 on this list is Ace of Beasts. So the Darkmoon Faire update has just dropped, and now we have access to a bunch of cards that can be turned into trinkets. The Darkmoon Faire trinkets are pretty good, however the most sought after trinket that you can get is the Darkmoon card Blue Dragon, which is just absolutely amazing for priests. And to craft this trinket, you need the Beasts deck, and the hardest card to get is the Ace of Beasts. Ace cards can only drop from dungeon bosses, and the drop chance is usually very low. In the case of the Ace of Beasts, it has a 3% drop chance from the Beast in Upper Blackrock Spire. Now that doesn't sound too bad, but when you think about Upper Blackrock Spire, you're going to be in there with about 10 people. You can bet that everybody is going to be rolling need if this drops, because this item on my server right now can sell for 2,000 plus gold, because the trinket that it gives you is just so good. So that 3% drop chance in reality is quite substantially lower. In reality, you have a 0.3% chance of getting this every time you kill the beast. For some reason, I actually saw 2 drop in a row. I have no idea how that happened. I guess I just had some insane luck that day, but not lucky enough to win the rolls, which is kind of a shame. Okay, so number 1 on this list is the Spell Shock Leggings. So I'm pretty sure you guys haven't heard of this item, and that's because it really isn't sought after that much. However, this has to be the rarest item in World of Warcraft history. So what the heck are the Spell Shock Leggings? Well, these are some level 40ish pants that have some decent spell damage, and it drops from Zul'Farrak. So why is this so rare? Isn't this dungeon loot? Well yes, this is dungeon loot, but what if I told you that it has a 0.01% drop chance from a boss? Not trash mobs, but from a boss. In fact, there are 2 bosses in here, the final bosses, that have a chance of this dropping. So it has a 0.02% drop chance in reality. And this is one of the many really rare bind on equip items that you can get from Zul'Farrak. The Zul'Farrak loot tables is kind of weird, especially considering that the Spell Shock Leggings has such a ludicrously low drop chance from bosses. Now I did some calculation, I actually made a video about this item in particular. According to my calculations, you would need to run Zul'Farrak 5,000 times before you have one drop. And that is not just one boss and then resetting, that is killing the last 2 bosses of the dungeon, which I don't even think that you can do solo. So you would actually need a group if you wanted to farm this. So after the 1 in 5,000 chance of getting this from clearing Zul'Farrak, you'd probably have to contend with people rolling on this item with you, making it, in my opinion, the rarest item in World of Warcraft history. There's pretty much nothing that even comes close to this in terms of difficulty to acquire. You would need to be farming farming this for years before you get this. That is how ridiculous the RNG is on this item. And all of this isn't for much, like this item is decent for a 49 caster, but that's it. For a level 60, there's not much use for this item. The demand isn't that high, so even if you get this item to drop, you'll probably get a few hundred gold for it. Definitely not as sought after as some of the other items on this list. However, that being said, on the retail version of WoW, you can get this for a quite cheap price. Because of the loot tables that got changed up in Cataclysm, it's pretty easy to get this. However, in the classic version of WoW, this is just ridiculously rare. This is so rare that you can't even call it rare. It's borderline impossible to get this item, and it's not even worth that much, so why even bother farming it? Well guys, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. This is vaulty, signing out.